Welcome to yet another episode of Conversation with CFS here at Expo Dubai 2020. And we're extremely honored and delighted to host the Director General of the International Food Policy Research Institute, IFPRI, Dr. Johan Swinnen. Dr. Swinnen, thank you for your time.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. And we'll start from, you have been here for the last couple of days. You have had lots of conversations. You have obviously been part of multiple panels talking about how do we get to feed the world, but feed the world nutritiously and sustainably. What is your impression of the week so far?
I've been actually very impressed with the conference and with the Global Leadership Forum and with the whole setup overall, also with the UAE government, our host, and so their commitment to the food systems transition and to, I think what is really important, take leadership in, first of all, in raising large amounts of money for it, but at the same time also I think what's really important is their plan to really help with food systems on the climate change agenda, on the COP agenda, and so they're hosting the COP in 28, or the COP 28, and I think that's a major thing, okay, so I'm really impressed with that.
So Dr. Swinnen, the CFS voluntary guidelines that were the focus of the high-level ministerial event this morning are designed essentially to inspire governments and partners, institutions like IFPRI, CGIAR, and others in the design of their own programs on food security and nutrition. How do you see them getting utilized by countries and by partners?
Yeah, I think they are, these voluntary guidelines can play a really important role, I think, because the focus is very strong on food systems and nutrition, okay? And so this goes beyond the traditional framework of food security as many governments have used it. So food systems is much more than the traditional consumer-producer relationship and things. And so clearly the focus on nutrition I think is really important because we really have to think beyond enough calories, enough tons of food, enough dollars of imports, but really on the quality of the food, on the nutritional component. And I think if these guidelines can help change that at the country level, that's great. I think for us, we are really a research organization. And so in that sense, it inspires us as well to focus our work to try to answer the questions that countries have and that hopefully the partners of CFS have.
Absolutely. And talking about the research work that you drive, what are your top priorities that you're looking at? These are the areas that we should be getting into as a global community if we are to indeed address this challenge of hunger and malnutrition by 2030.
Yeah, I think we are doing a lot of, we have a fairly big nutrition group of nutritionists who work together with economists. And so they do, I think, fascinating work. I mean, the interaction of nutritionists and economists as kind of interdisciplinary research is quite unique, I think, and also the size of the group at IFPRI. Another example of what we do, which is really very actual, because we just came out of a report together with the World Bank a week ago on which is called repurposing subsidies. And this is really about, at this point, the world agricultural ministers really spend about $700 billion per year on agricultural subsidies. And we know that these subsidies have income effect by farmers, but they also typically are targeted towards commodities which are not the most nutritious. They also stimulating practices which are not sustainable. And so the whole idea of the analysis is to think, how can we, if you want to spend this type of funding on agriculture, on the food system, how can you do it better? Better in terms of leading to better environmental outcomes, to better health outcomes, better nutrition, etc. I think it's really exciting research because this is for the first time that our modeling team, but modeling teams broadly, have really brought kind of a real food systems approach to it, linking income effects with trade effects, with market effects, with health effects, and with greenhouse gas emissions, I mean environmental effects.
That sounds like a pretty packed agenda you have ahead of you, Dr. Swinnen. And as we wrap it up is, how do you see CFS as a platform that brings together all partners being supportive to driving that kind of work that you have outlined?
The really crucial role that CFS plays is bringing together all the stakeholders around a certain topic and really trying to come to a consensus at the end. And I think that's strong, right? Because if you can do that, that means if you have the consensus, even if the guidelines are only voluntary, they will have much more chance to actually have an actual impact.
Dr. Swinnen, many thanks for your time, and we'll be looking forward to engaging a lot more with you, and all the very best in the work that you're driving.
Thank you very much for hosting me. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Swinnen.
Thank you.